subject is English. Grace has oh, I forgot to ask you about this. Come on up here, Grace. Come on. Okay, tell us the name of your condition.
It's called arthrogryposis.
You see why I called her up here? Okay, Grace, you can stay up here. Grace has a condition called arthrogryposis, or AMC for short. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Her hobbies are singing and playing the piano, and she is very musical. She has been taking singing lessons for 7 years and piano lessons for 4.5 years and likes listening to older jazz music. She enjoys art and reading classical books such as Pride and Prejudice and The Princess Bride. She watches a lot of movies and loves older titles. She makes a conscious effort to be as funny and smiling as possible. So put your hands together for Grace Brulot.
I'm just going to project. As part of singing, you have to project. So as Tanya said, my name is Grace. I'm 16. I have a condition called arthrogryposis. I'm just going to explain that a little more because most people don't know what it is and can't say it. Arthrogryposis is a condition where it stiffens the joints in the arms and the legs. And there can be varying types of arthrogryposis. Mine is probably one of the most severe, which is why I use my wheelchair to get around. I also have scoliosis of the spine, so I have a little bit of a back curvature. But I never let my disability stop me right from the time when I was little. My mom always taught me never to let things defeat me, which it's been hard for me to overcome my restrictions and even the way that people treat me, which happens a lot, not because I'm a woman, but because when people look at me, they see, most of the time, they see the wheelchair, and I have to really make it an effort to be like, hey, I'm here too. It's not just this thing that's attached to me, and so my whole life I have made it a goal of mine to show people that I can and that I am capable, and that just because I am different, I can still do the impossible. So when I started doing that in about, I think my first big event was in 2009. I decided for the first year of my 10 years of life that I wanted to be a journalist. So I decided that I was going to really try and work towards that. So my first journalist event was at the Winter Games in Kimberley. I reported on wheelchair basketball, but that was a real, I had to really push myself outside of my comfort zone to be able to do that. A lot of the times when you get these ideas to do things, it's really hard to overcome yourself. I think that overcoming yourself is probably the biggest thing that you have to overcome. It's the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome in order to do great things. And that is what it took for me, was saying, okay, I need to just ignore how I'm feeling right now, and I just need to go out and do the things that I know that I am capable of doing. So my first, I did journaling. I was a reporter for the newspaper for a little while, which I found a challenge, but I did survive. And then my biggest event, I think, is I was asked to speak at the Senate in Ottawa. I did a little demonstration of adaptive equipment, and I did a speech. Public speaking is not my favorite thing, but actually when Tanya and Rachel called me to ask me if I would do it, I was flattered firstly because they think I'm a woman, so that. But the second thing that came to my mind was like, oh, why public speaking? Really? Can I just like mime dance or something like that? Not speak. But it's something that I have to overcome personally, and it's another thing that I have had to overcome. So I did speaking at the Senate. That was my first big adventure in Ottawa, and I had met a few of the MPs there, and it was a really amazing experience for me. And then I decided that I wanted to be a journalist at the 2010 Vancouver Paralympics. I was a little too young to be able to do it. The age restriction for being able to be a journalist was 18. But they bent the rules a little bit for me so I could go and do that. That was probably the most stressful time I've had because I find it difficult to be able to go up to people and to just be like, hey, tell me your story. So the Paralympics were an eye-opener for me, and one of the reasons why I said I'm not going to be a journalist. But I also was able to be a torchbearer in Vancouver, which was an amazing experience for me. Even though I had to sit for 2 hours in the rain and wait for them to come by, and I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'm a teenager, I like to sleep until 10, so that was, but I was just overjoyed, and that experience it helped me to realize my potential, and it helped me to realize that just because I have a disability, I do not need to let it defeat me, and that's not what defines me, that's not grace. And then in 2011, I tried the sport called sit skiing for the first time. It's basically adaptive skiing for people with disabilities. And the first time that I tried it, I had to, again, stretch myself, because when you see the sit ski, it's just basically like a seat with skis on it, and I was kind of looking at it, and I'm like, really? You're going to take me up the mountain, and you're going to, like, push me off the mountain. I'm going to die. But my instructors there, they were just really helpful to me, because they just said, okay, I know you're scared, but that's too bad, because we're going anyway. And they just really pushed me past my fears, and that was part of what started my vision of starting the first adaptive ski program here in Fernie. So the idea literally just came to me when I came home from my first time sit skiing, and I was sitting at the table and thinking about what happened, and then all of a sudden this thought popped into my head, and it just said, you can start your own adaptive ski program in Fernie, just do it. And so at first, you know, I was kind of like, well, I don't know, I was 12 at the time, I think, and I was kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to do this. But what you really have to overcome is those thoughts are going to come into your head, and they're going to try and push you down. You're not going to. But what makes you great is to be able to stand past those, and that's what makes things happen that are great. In the Bible, it says if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And that's all it takes, is the faith that's just as small as a mustard seed inside of you, and you can move mountains. And so that's how it started for me, was I just decided, I got my pad and pencil out, and I started jotting down ideas, and the ideas came into a society. Our society is called FIRE, Fernie Inspire the Race to Empower, which I'm the president of. And 2 years later, we have Fernie's first adaptive ski program.
Wow.
That just started this January. hard. For the first year, I had to plan this course to train volunteers, and for the first year, I did that all by myself, and it ended up that we didn't have enough people the first year to have a full course. So we had to cancel, and it was very hard on me because I was just so excited about it, and just that disappointment. But I decided that we were just going to keep on going, and I ended up getting on board the manager of Ski Hill and a bunch of other people in town, such as Tech. They all really supported me and rallied just to pull this program together. And we had our first official day on January 20th. And I am just seeing lives being changed by that. And I just really think that goals are going to be met if you never give up on yourself. That is the biggest thing here. I like using the quote, "No excuses, no limits," because I think that it's important that you take the excuses and the limits off yourself, and then you will be able to do incredible things. I could have given up the first time that I came over a bump in the road, but I just decided, no, I'm going to keep going, and I'm not going to let this defeat me. And then I decided also, because I do experience quite a bit of discrimination just by the way that people treat me. So I just, going along with that, I decided that I was going to make a blog and a video blog. It was my very first time actually talking about how I feel about the way people treat me. It's called Disabled and Living in the Real World. If you guys want to go and look that up later. And it took a lot of courage for me to be able to talk about what it is that hurts me inside, for the way that people see my disability before they see me. I don't even really like calling it a disability because I don't like putting labels on things, which is, when you're like me, you always get a label. That's what a label is, smacked on your forehead first when you're born, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life, is having the label disabled on your forehead, basically. But I have done things that have helped me to erase the label off of my forehead. I have, for example, I play the piano, and that was something that I had to overcome physically and mentally, because I've heard the word "you can't" a lot. And it has been very hard. Can't is probably the hardest word that a person can say to another person, and it's probably the one that is going to hurt the most. But the thing that you have to do is show people that you can, and that you are able, and that you can do what everybody else thinks is impossible. So I play the piano. I've been playing for 6 years now, actually. And I have just kept on going with that, even though I have physical restrictions. And starting this society has been a mental restriction for me, just because always the thoughts that come to your mind are, well, why am I doing this? Why can't somebody else do this? I'm not capable of doing this. And you really tend to push yourself down, but you can, and that's what I say all the time, is if you have faith, you can move mountains. So those are the 2 quotes that I want to leave you guys with. No excuses, no limits, and have faith to move mountains. And you can move mountains. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter if you are If you have challenges, it doesn't matter at all because all it takes is you believing in yourself. And that is the seed that starts to move things and to help things come along and to change people. So I just encourage all of you to believe in yourselves.